Kitchen. I'm Ella and today I am going to show you how to make April Bloomfield's asparagus quiche. So let's make a start. So for our dough today, we've got in this bowl 1.5 cups of plain flour, a teaspoon of cooking salt and a teaspoon of caster sugar. And to this we are going to add 125 grams of chilled butter. So this is out of the fridge, it's nice and cold. And what we're going to do is create a breadcrumb with the flour mixture with our hands. So this can be sometimes a little bit icky, some people really enjoy this, but what we want to do is create as much of a breadcrumb as we can by mixing and just spreading with our fingers the flour and the butter together. So we've been kneading this for a few minutes now, and you can see that it has created a very nice, almost a Parmesan cheese texture. So there's still some clumps in the flour of the butter, but we'll work that out in the next step as we create the ball dough. So what we're going to add next is 1/3 cup of creme fraiche. You can also use sour cream here. We like to use sour cream when we are making a pie crust, for example. Today, being a savoury quiche, we will use the creme fraiche. So we want to get that in there, and we just want to work that in to create a dough. And I'll be back in a few minutes once our dough is ready. Okay, so I've been mixing this for about 5 minutes now, just kneading it with my hands. And you can see that I have created a really very moist dough here ball. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to pop it in the fridge for about an hour so that it gets really cold, and we shall return to it shortly. Okay, so while we wait for our dough to cool in the fridge, we can continue with the filling of today's quiche. Here in our saucepan, we have 3/4 cup of heavy cream and 3/4 cup of full cream milk. And this has been heated on a low heat for a couple of minutes just before it comes to the boil. You can see that it's still quite warm. And to this, we are going to add 4 eggs. So we want to make sure that the milk and cream mixture is not too hot because we don't want to curdle the eggs, and so it's great to whisk the eggs in as you go, so not all at the same time, just to make sure that you're not cooking the egg, because we want to save this for when it's in the oven. So if we just whisk those in, and really we want them to become part of that milk mixture. And you'll notice this when the color starts to change in the mixture. It becomes a little bit more yellow thanks to our egg yolks. So now we can just add in the remaining 2 eggs. And you'll see as this starts to cool, the yellow becomes much more prominent, and the color of milk starts to disappear. And what we want to do is let this cool completely before we move on to adding the final ingredients of our filling today. So if you let this come to a full cool temperature, and then we can move on. So our dough has been in the fridge for 1 hour, and I have recruited Ben here who's going to roll it out for us today.
Thanks, Ella. So, as we mentioned, after the dough has been in the fridge for an hour, just leave it on the bench for a few minutes just to warm up, because it will make that rolling out process a little bit easier. We'll just begin by flouring the bench. just lightly, it just needs a little bit. Pop the dough, and then we'll just roll it out until it's a nice circular shape that we can then place into our quiche dish. Okay, so now that we've finished rolling out, we're going to line our greased and parchment papered quiche dish. It's a pretty simple process. We just place it on top, and then we just work around the edge of the quiche dish and just pressing the pastry into all the grooves. It's a bit flexible here, so if there's a crack, you can just use some of the excess to catch the hole, and should be okay. Really won't notice at the end. Then we just go through and just remove the excess pastry before we then proceed with the rest of the steps to complete our quiche.
Okay, so our dough is ready in its mold to go, so we can add the rest of the filling mixture together. It has cooled nicely and it has thickened over the last hour while it's cooled, which will create a very creamy, eggy mixture which we want today. To this, we are going to add a bunch of blanched asparagus, which have been chopped up into little pieces. And to this, a decadent caramelized onion with some salt and some butter, which we cooked, and we've also let that cool. So we just add that in and give everything a really good stir so that the vegetables mix throughout the mixture really nicely. Now, something that is not in April Bloomfield's recipe is cheese, but as you all know, at Beige, we love cheese. So we will naturally add cheese. So we have here just a small amount, about 50 grams of Parmesan, which we will grate also into the mixture. And this is now ready to pour into our pie dish. So now we're going to pour our filling into our dough really gently. And we want to make sure that the asparagus is spread right around the dough area so that we get a nice mixture of everything in each slice. And we're going to put this into the oven for 20 to 25 minutes on a medium heat, about 180. So we've taken our quiche out of the oven after about 25 minutes, and we've let it rest for a couple of minutes just so it's nice and easy to take out of the casing. As you can see, we've got a really lovely crispy crust, and we've got a very nice delicate texture in the egg mixture. So we hope that you can make this recipe as well and enjoy it as much as we will. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to follow and subscribe us at Beige.